Waqf is a practice as old as Islam.
But how did so many farmers suddenly begin getting notices?
Revenue officials, sub-registrars and mutawalis, they have conspired to sell Waqf lands. See, Waqf issue has become an emotional issue.
Byelection-bound Karnataka has found itself in the grip of another controversy. And this time the spotlight is on the Waqf Board. While the BJP has alleged that the Waqf Board is waging a land jihad against poor farmers, the ruling Congress has accused the opposition of playing politics of hate. Between all this political mudslinging, myths and misinformation have continued to fly. So, how did an incident in a small village of Vijayapura district snowball into an issue of national interest? What is Waqf? How does the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 tie in to this conflict? Namaskara. Welcome to Decode Karnataka. I'm Nalme Nachiyar. The Honawad village in Vijayapura district hit the headlines after BJP MP Tejasvi Surya claimed that the Karnataka Waqf Board had conspired to take over 1,500 acres of land, issuing eviction notices to hundreds of farmers, alleging encroachment by them. This set off anxieties over land rights and ownership, with the opposition BJP even accusing the Congress government of snatching lands of Hindus for minority appeasement. Soon, at the behest of Mr. Surya, Jagadambika Pal, the chairman of the Joint Parliamentary Committee on the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024, visited Hubballi and Vijayapura districts to speak to aggrieved farmers. The Hindu also visited Honawad around the same time to understand the issue in depth. You can find the links to both our text and video ground reports in the description below. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announced that all notices would be withdrawn and the mutation process stopped immediately. The entire episode has been marked by intense fear-mongering and rumor-mongering. The Haveri District Police even booked Mr. Tejasvi Surya for spreading fake news about the death of a farmer. To unpack the issue and its implications, let's speak to Senior Assistant Editor Rishikesh Bahadur Desai, who has covered this controversy extensively. The land row involving Waqf Board is the recent controversy to take Karnataka by storm. But before we get into the actual controversy and how it erupted, there are quite a few myths and misconceptions about what Waqf is, what constitutes a Waqf land and donation. Can you help us understand this aspect briefly?
The whole thing is very simple. Waqf is an Arabic word which means full stop. That is, should be the full stop, should be the attitude or the mind of the donor. So, when a rich man or a philanthropist donates land or movable or immovable property, he means that the proceeds of the property should be used for the welfare of the community, Ummah. Community, narrowly speaking, is the Muslim community, but broadly speaking, it can benefit anybody. For example, there have been Waqf properties donated to beggar feeding centers where beggars from all community have been fed. So Waqf essentially is a Islamic endowment charity based around a donation of movable or immovable property, and it works in the same way that the modern trust act or trust laws in various countries in India also they work. We can roughly say that it is something like a CSR scheme that works around, where there is a fixed amount of money or a property that generates money, and it is managed so that it does not get into loss by a group of trustees which are called mutawalis. And in Islamic law, these mutawalis are either elected or nominated. And Waqf is a practice as old as Islam. In fact, in states like Punjab and Haryana, there have been 1,000-year-old Waqf properties.
Okay.
For most of the part of the history, Waqf, because Islamic law recognizes oral donation, several Waqf properties were donated orally and they do not have documents. Another part of the controversy is Waqf by usage. Waqf by usage is where the donor does not object to some people using the property during his lifetime, and if he dies, his legal heirs do not object to some people using the property. It is like Waqf donation by implication. For example, several places, for example, in Bijapur, one of the biggest mosques has a water body next to it called Taj Baudi. That the access point or the road to Taj Baudi was not donated by the owner family. But then it was being used by the people for more than 300, 400 years. So that becomes Waqf property by usage. So several people who are now trying to say that Waqf board or Waqf mutawalis are trying to take over the property are saying that even though the owner did not donate the property, the board or mutawalis are taking claim to it in the name of Waqf by usage.
How does this now tie into the present controversy in Karnataka? We know that it started when BJP MP Tejasvi Surya put out a post about a few farmers reaching out to him about mutations in their land records. But how did so many farmers suddenly begin getting notices? And here I would also like to point out that, and like you've already also written, that these notices were issued by the revenue department and not by the Waqf Board as is being claimed. But why was the process even initiated?
You see, in Karnataka, we have to take a bit of history into account. Between 1960 and 1975, Karnataka introduced 2 rounds of Inam Abolition Act and Land Reform Act. So any person, which means and includes legal person, which means an individual or an entity, legal entity like a company or a trust or any religious institution, who had more than 54 acres of land. Their land was taken by the state government and redistributed among landless farmers. This happened in the case of Waqf properties also. For example, in Vijayapura district, now called Vijayapura district, there were 14,201 acres of Waqf land donated by philanthropists for the good of the community. They were held either by the dargahs or mosques or mutawalli committees or by the Waqf Board. These lands, because most of them are agriculture lands, they were tilled by tenants who were mostly landless farmers, and in more than 50% cases, they were tilled by Muslim farmers. But all these lands were taken by the state government and redistributed among landless farmers between 1964 and 1974. However, the 1974 Gazette was not suitably amended to say that these lands had belonged to the redistributed farmers and not the Waqf Board or the Mutawalli Committee. And corrigendum addendum, which is a list of clarifications and errors, which was added to the 1974 Waqf Gazette, was issued in 1977. So, some farmers, after the Waqf Adalat the whole issue started after Waqf Adalats were being held in Karnataka. Waqf Adalats had been held in Karnataka till this date in 10 places out of 31 districts. So, in one of the districts, in Vijayapura district, Minister Zamir Ahmad Khan, who is Minister for Minority Welfare and Waqf, he made an impassioned plea in his public statement saying that these lands were not given by the government. They were donated by the Muslim philanthropist and had to rightly belong to the Waqf Board. However, he made a mistake in relying on the 1974 Gazette. He should have relied on 1977 Gazette. A total of 124 notices were issued in Vijayapura district, out of which officers are saying 12, around 10% or 12 notices were issued to farmers who were tilling lands distributed under Inam Abolition Act or the Land Reforms Act. Okay. So these farmers, they had believed for generations that they have got the land under grant by the state government, and the Waqf Board was still coming to take over those lands. Okay. But in all other cases, officers and the ministers maintain that the notices were issued by the Tahsildars to people who had encroached Waqf lands. So in Karnataka, there are around 1.2 lakh acres of Waqf land before 1974, out of which around 75,000 acres was redistributed to landless under Inam Abolition Act and Land Reform Act. Out of this, around 20,000 acres has been encroached. In several cases, and officials agree, and ministers has also said this, that the trustees and mutawallis have sold these lands, hiding the fact that they were donated and they can't be sold. But in several cases, mutawallis who are supposed to maintain a separate list of Waqf documents and show it to the registrar whenever there is a contentious sale and stop it. In several places, then this has happened over the decades. Revenue officials, sub-registrars and mutawallis, they have conspired to sell Waqf lands. This is one part of it. Second is redistribution of land. Third is the direct administration. Now, presently, Karnataka Waqf Board administers only around 20,000 acres out of 1.2 lakh acres. So, this is the whole gamut of controversies. There have been errors by the officers and errors of perception by the farmers associations and a definitely political attempt by the BJP to make it an issue.
Since you've raised the point of politicization yourself, report says that changes to land records and mutations have been happening for several years and have been done by governments of all parties. But there is also the timing of the issue, considering that it is coming so close to the bypolls. And the recent meeting of JPC chairman with farmers in Hubballi and Vijayapura has also been accused of being a BJP event. So how do you think the current chaos here will impact the bypolls, A, and B, the bigger debate over the Waqf Amendment Bill being proposed by the NDA government?
Usually what happens, whenever there is a bypoll, people tend to vote for the party in power, except whenever there is a very hugely emotional issue. You see, Waqf issue has become an emotional issue, and BJP has gained an advantage over the Congress in all the 3 seats, especially in a place like Haveri, because North Karnataka has disproportionately higher number of Waqf properties compared to South Karnataka because of the rule of sultans and Adil Shahis and Bahmanis in the past. However, I think that BJP has 2 intentions behind making this a political issue. One is the 3 bypolls in Karnataka, which is a smaller issue and a short-term gain for them. The real issue is that they want to prepare the mindset of the people in welcoming the proposed amendment bill, which is now before the JPC. I have reasons to believe why it is a political issue. Number one, farmers from Hanwad and some places in Vijayapura district, they went to meet the Bangalore MP. Before that, they had gone to meet the district in charge Minister M.B. Patil, who had assured them that no land will be taken and farmers will not be evicted, and that if there were errors on the part of Tehsildars, he would take action. After 1 week or so, they went to Bangalore and met the Bangalore MP, who said, without checking facts, that 1,500 acres of land in Hanwad village was being taken away by the Waqf Board and hundreds of notices were issued to farmers. I went to Hanwad and we realized that there was not a single farmer who had got a notice or who was willing to claim that he had got a notice. We sat in the Gram Panchayat office and met so many farmers. And I spoke to the Gram Panchayat president Tukaram Dhadke, who said that they had held 3 rounds of meetings in the village, once by Congress, another by BJP, and third by the village elders. And nobody came forward to either show their notice or discuss the issue. That is simply because Hanwad village, Tehsildars had not issued notices. Most of the notices issued in Vijayapur district were in Vijayapur city or taluks like India and Sindhigi. Now, some officers are saying that the Takke area in Vijayapur district, it is one of the extension areas, it was earlier called Hanwad and erroneously mentioned in the RTCs as Hanwad. Right. Even that, I cross-checked with one of the landowners in Takke area to see whether their RTC had the word Hanwad. Even that was not mentioned. Anyway, that remains unclear. Second point is the involvement of the JPC. JPC is a constitutional body as much as the parliament is. JPC has members from all parties and it is under serious discussion. It is receiving complaints and submissions from various stakeholders and is holding meetings. However, Mr. Jagadambika Pal, who is the chairman of the JPC, supposedly did not inform other JPC members that he had been asked by Mr. Tejasvi Surya to come and visit villages in Karnataka. He
Correct,
came
yeah.
alone and he held meetings in a private hotel in Hubli. And he went to the striking farmers in Vijayapura district in front of the deputy commissioner office. He did not meet either the Tahsildar or the deputy commissioners of Vijayapura or ask them questions, which he is very much empowered to do.
Yeah.
Thirdly, he made a speech in which he said that the proposed amendment bill would solve their problems. He did not attempt to give an answer to why the Karnataka government had initiated the Waqf Adalats, because Waqf Adalats are part of the process of due process of law that Karnataka High Court in 2020 has mentioned, and Supreme Court in 2016, case number 10770, where they say that the Waqf, once a Waqf is always a Waqf, and Waqf boards of various states have rights to reclaim their lands following due process of law. So due process of law has many steps, including Waqf Adalat, issue of notices, on the land survey, receiving of objections, and reinstatement of lands in column 9 of RTC, which is record of rights, tenants and crops, in front of the two parties. Leaders like Tejas Surya and Sri Ram Sena leader Pramod Mutalik, they have falsely claimed that the notices were issued by the Waqf Board and were in Urdu. They were not issued by the Waqf Board, they were issued by Tahsildar, and they are all in Karnataka.
Correct.
Total, only around 423 notices were issued in 5 districts, out of which 28 notices were not issued because there were mismatch of names or High Court cases, and all the notices have been withdrawn between October 30 and 9th of November. And all mutations, because mutations take some time to revoke, all mutations shall be revoked according to an order. But definitely, this has no longer remained an administrative issue. It has remained a political issue and has been particularly raised by the BJP, not only for Karnataka by elections, but also to prepare the ground for the passage of the amendment bill. You see, the Waqf Amendment Bill is contentious on various issues. Number one is, it assumes that Hindutva religious organizations or Hindu religious endowment charities shall govern themselves, but minority religious endowment charities shall be regulated by the state government, which is unfair. Number two, it reduces the power or even takes away completely the power of Waqf Board and Waqf Tribunal. Waqf Tribunal is named of Waqf Tribunal, but it is headed by a district judge and is appointed by the High Court. The powers of these two will be taken out, and the deputy commissioner or district magistrate, as he is called, he will be made sole powerful to declare if a Waqf property remains with the Waqf or shall become government property. The only problem with Waqf property becoming government property is that they become vulnerable to the provision of adverse possession, which all religious properties in the country are now exempt. For example, if I am an encroacher and I have been encroaching for 12 years, I can claim even government property as my own if the owner has not objected to it in the last 12 years and I am the adverse possessor. However, if I am encroaching Waqf property, even after centuries, I will not become the owner. That is because all religious properties are exempt. But if Waqf property becomes government property, it will easily pass on to the encroacher. Finally, the problem is, all these days, non-Muslims have been donating to Muslim charities or even Waqf Board. That will be taken away, saying only believers can donate. Finally, and other part is the constitution of the Waqf Board. Till now, it was completely filled with Muslims. Now, the proposed amendment bill says it shall have non-Muslims and the number of women will be restricted to 2. So, these are the contentious issues in the proposed amendment bill.
With Jagdambika Pal having assured Karnataka's farmers of placing the matter before the Joint Parliamentary Committee, the larger ramifications of the issue on the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 will be keenly watched. In the immediate future, however, it will be curious to see what impact the entire episode will have on the by-poll results in Channapatna, Sandur and Shigaon Assembly constituencies. I'll see you in the next episode of Decode Karnataka. Until then, follow The Hindu for more such stories and videos.